Grayson Grundhoefer is a busy man. National Signing Day around the corner. What he does daily. Also, then on top of that, God dropped in NIL and transfer portal and added to his job along with a lot of us as well. But with what he does, especially with recruiting as a recruiting analyst for the site and also our show. Grayson, National Signing Day, it's just almost like, oh, it's next week. When normally I would be crunching and trying to figure out how we're going to cover it. It's not quite the same, but hundreds of players will sign around the country. Will Baylor get anybody in the class of 2023 signing next week?
You know, it really does not look that way. I think you have the commits pretty much set. I know the Baylor official, Twitter site hasn't listed Corey Kelly as a signee yet, but he will sign. So I guess that counts toward, in addition, but he's been committed for a long time. So he's one, I guess, to keep an eye on. Outside of that, though, I don't really see that happening. They haven't sent out any new 2023 offers. There hasn't been a lot of movement with 2023 prospects in the last week or so. And with the dead period starting, coming up in February, the beginning of February, it really seems like this would have been the time for that to happen. But instead, Baylor is having a junior day this weekend. And so I don't think you're going to see much of a push for 2023 prospects. I think this is more a turning the page a little bit towards the 2024 class, which obviously they have a big weekend set for that class.
Who do you think is the biggest grab among the junior day guys coming this weekend?
Wow, that's a great question because they have a lot of really, really good prospects. I have about 31 names on the list, but how about I'll go with the name that I added today, and I actually knew he was coming for a while, but sometimes I like to spread these out a little bit with the guys that I list. But Terry Busby out of Timpson, he is an absolutely phenomenal athlete and a prospect that, if he were to end up at Baylor would be an absolutely insane get. He's a high-level 4-star prospect. He's actually getting close to 5-star as far as the composite rankings go. But, he's about 5'11", 180 pounds. He's not the biggest prospect by any means. But what he does for that program at Timpson is absolutely ridiculous. He had 26 touchdowns through the air to go along with 46 touchdowns on the ground. But then he also plays defense, had 115 tackles and 5 interceptions there. I think he's a guy that's a true athlete. He could be great on the defensive side or the offensive side. But I kind of look at him as just kind of this all-around just playmaker who any program, if they were able to get him, would be very, very fortunate.
Grayson, any sense on what prospects think or have thought about some of the new additions, or is that something that maybe you'll get a better feel for after this weekend?
No, that's a great question. And I think it's one where I know more about Christian Robinson right now than I do A.J. Stewart as far as kind of what prospects know about them. And, it's just kind of one of those things where, Christian Robinson was at Auburn, so he kind of had relationships with some of the guys that Baylor's recruiting more so than A.J. Stewart has at Oregon State. So I think we're going to find out more about A.J., probably after this weekend. But as far as Christian Robinson goes, one of Baylor's top will linebacker prospects, Anthony Smith, who's out of Jasper, he'll be there this weekend. He talked about just how he has this great relationship with Christian Robinson and how it's actually helped Baylor, and that his relationship with him is better than it was with Ron Roberts, and that he's, really excited for the possibility of getting to know, Christian Robinson even more, and then, of course, also getting to know Matthew Pallage, who will be the defense coordinator at Baylor. So he's just one example. Another one would be DeSoto linebacker Brandon Booker, who Baylor's been recruiting really, really hard for a while now, but he also had an Auburn offer. So he knows Christian Robinson as well, and so now it's just about strengthening those relationships. And but I think right now, all signs are pointing to an improvement there. Recruiting the linebacker position with Christian Robinson there.
You brought up Terry Bussey, and I happen to have a picture of him, and there's a reason why. Here he is. It's kind of like one of those that they designed almost like it's an artistic view of Terry Bussey. He's a dog. He's an alpha dog. And I bring that up, Grayson, because I just released my All-East Texas team. He's a junior, and he was the overall in a region filled with dogs, alpha dogs, the MVP with what he did at Timpson High School. So I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to put up a picture of him and promote that. But, yeah, he's incredible as a player.
Yeah, he definitely is. And he's just one of those special prospects to even get on campus just because he's so good. But he's got a good relationship with the Baylor staff. And I know Kevin Curtis has been working really hard to recruit him. And so, I think he's an athlete. But I kind of think that if you look at what he's done and look at the way he runs and the way he can move, he could be a really, really good defensive back prospect, too, just as much as he could be a wide receiver prospect.
Grayson Grundhoefer, SicEm365.com recruiting analyst with us Fridays at 3:45.
Grayson, any other kind of things storyline-wise that are on the radar as far as this weekend goes?
I did want to bring up kind of an interesting, I guess, quick storyline. But, of course, Nate Roberts is coming on a visit. He's the 2025 tight end out of Oklahoma. But I bring him up because Baylor just added his older brother, Jake Roberts, from North Texas, the tight end prospect there. So Jake is going to play for Baylor this year. He's already at Baylor now. But Nate just got a Georgia offer this week. And for those that don't know, right now a Georgia offer for a tight end is the best offer you could possibly get in my eyes because of what they do with – they have like 3 5-star tight ends who all play big-time roles on their team. And, of course, the headliner is Brock Bowers. But I just wanted to bring that up because Nate is a guy who's on the rise. He's got great offers from all over the country, but he's coming to Baylor this weekend. And Baylor's recruited him really hard. They were a very early offer for him. They offered him far before they had any interest in, even knowing that Jake was going to enter the portal. So Nate's built a great relationship with them. So I thought I would bring him up. And while bringing him up, I'll also bring up that Baylor has another high 3-star prospect at the tight end position, Dylan Hip, who's out of Desert Mountain in Arizona. So another Arizona prospect that Baylor's recruiting for the tight end position, along with the guy that they landed in 2023 class, Matthew Klopfenstein. So again, it's just Jeff Grimes continuing to build this tight end position, and there's a lot of excitement around many prospects for that position. So to get those two guys in, I think is a pretty big deal.
You mentioned Georgia and tight ends. They're so loaded at tight end that a former, I think he was a 4 or 5-star, Eric Gilbert, basically left because he couldn't find time to play because they're so deep at that position. I think he signed with Matt Rule and Nebraska. So based on this weekend, there's some big names. There's some that have committed to Baylor, some that have not, like Jaden Porter, Lorena, among a couple of others. How do they handle it? What is the communication? Do they arrive on campus? Are they here for just a day? Are they kind of go over that, the difference between what this weekend's like and perhaps anything else?
Right. So I guess the easiest way to put this is everyone's going to get there as early as they possibly can on Sunday. It's just Sunday.
Okay.
Guys won't stay the night or go for a second day or anything like that. But they'll be there Sunday. There'll be a lot of, activities with the group as a whole because Baylor does something that not a lot of schools do where it's just kind of, hey, we're going to bring in about 30, 35 guys that are, priority focuses that we want to give all our attention to, whereas some other schools will bring in like 70, 80 guys, which is a totally different experience. So Baylor wants to be sure that they're able to have, one-on-one time a little bit with each prospect, especially with their position coaches. Sometimes there's academic portion, sometimes there's games and things like that. So it's kind of going to be pretty chill in which you get to kind of meet your position coach even more, build on that relationship, meet some of the recruits who Baylor is really recruiting hard. Guys who, all these guys have a lot of Baylor interest and Baylor has interest in them. So all these guys have a lot in common because of that. And so you kind of bring all those guys together, do activities with them, allow them to get to see the campus, see the facilities, and then also have those one-on-one conversations with position coaches. And then, of course, Dave Aranda as well will likely have one-on-one conversations with every single one of the prospects there. So it should be a really fun weekend. It always is. Baylor has done a great job historically on these junior days as far as, turning these junior day visitors into official visits and then into commitments and signees. So they're going to be looking to do the same thing on Sunday.
We have A.J. Stewart, by the way, coming up at just after, in fact, here pretty soon. So if you want us to fire off a question to him, let us know. Just text us, and we'll get that to him and get that back to you. Grayson, thank you. Have a great weekend. Good luck covering what you can this weekend with all of those tremendous names and prospects coming into Waco.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Grayson Grundhoefer, lead recruiting analyst, co-host of the Bearcast with us on 365 Radio on Fridays at 3.